Hey, this is Robert with a automotive quick tip. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Thanks for watching. In this video, I'm going to try to quickly answer a question that I've received from time to time, and that is, can you remove the turbo from your car and just bypass it and not replace it when it goes bad? If you're financially in a tough spot and you're wanting to remove that turbo to save money, unfortunately, that is not an easy thing to do. Your car needs 5 things to run. It needs spark, it needs fuel, it needs compression, it needs timing, and last but not least, it needs air. Air is a critical part of your combustion engine running. If you have a turbocharger, of course you have a combustion engine car. That means it takes gas to make it run. So, one thing you need to realize with a car that needs air is there's 2 ways to get air into the engine so that it can have its combustion and function properly. One way is for it to be NA, that stands for naturally aspired. That means air comes in through an air filter, and under a natural process, the air is sucked into the engine. That's a naturally aspired engine. The air comes from your airbox directly into your air intake system and sucks into the combustion chamber. On a vehicle that has an engine equipped with a turbocharger, that system is designed differently. The air comes into the airbox. From the airbox, it has a tube going down to the turbo. The air comes into the turbo. It comes out of the turbo up through this pipe here that we call a charge pipe. In most of the cars built after 1990, that air then goes through an intercooler. That is a thing that's similar to a radiator. A radiator cools coolant. The intercooler cools the air. The air goes through that intercooler, comes back up through another tube, then it goes into your intake. So in between your airbox and your intake manifold, you got a pipe going to your turbo, you got a turbo, you got the pipe coming out of the turbo, you got an intercooler, you got a pipe coming out of the intercooler, then into there. Where on a naturally aspired car, it goes right from the airbox right to the intake manifold. So you have several components added into a vehicle that has a turbocharger. Now your turbocharger is also a little complicated. I have another video that explains that, but that's the turbocharger there. The turbocharger has oil lines going to it. It has coolant going to it. It also has an exhaust manifold that is specially designed to adapt the turbo. Then the exhaust is specially adapted to attach to the turbo. So you have all these extra components on a car that has a turbocharger. So you can't just come unbolt the turbocharger and hook up your airline some other way and have a car that's running without a turbocharger, because in addition to all of this extra hardware, the computer system that runs the fuel injection, monitors the air, monitors the turbo, and all that stuff is designed to function this car that is equipped with a turbocharger like it's equipped with a turbocharger. I kind of look at it like this. A car without a turbocharger is like someone that breathes normally. A car with a turbocharger is like someone that can breathe underwater. They have an additional air tank. This air tank's got to be serviced a certain way, and these people can breathe underwater because they have their air tank system. Now, the computer in the car, my computer is located here, monitors all that stuff going on with the turbo. So if I cut the turbo out of the equation, this computer is now looking for the missing turbo, and it's going to say, hey, the turbo's missing, we got problems, it's not going to run right. Because of all of that additional piping and stuff going on with the vehicle, it is not an easy task to simply bypass the turbo or remove it. It's just not possible. Sorry to say that. With everything in life, there are people that will prove me wrong. And that's okay. Can the turbo system be bypassed? Yes, it can. Now, the engine in a car that has a turbo is often made different than an engine in a car that doesn't have a turbo. Most cars that don't have a turbo have a bigger engine. Cars that do have a turbo have a smaller engine, and those engines can produce more power than the bigger engines simply because they have a turbo system installed. Complicated even more. So I say all that to say this: if you have a bad turbo on your car and you want your car to run right, sad to say, it's probably cheaper and easier to have the turbo replaced. It just is. Now, if you're somebody that can do things yourself, you can probably delete all of that turbo stuff. First, you got to find a different intake pipe, one that doesn't go to the turbo, one that goes directly into the intake manifold. That's number one. Number two, you need to bypass the turbo and probably remove any engine and coolant lines that's going to that. That'll take the effort of blocking that stuff off. Just saying. You may be able to leave the turbo mounted. That may not be an issue. So you may be able to use an exhaust manifold, but if your turbo's jammed up, probably not, because that air needs to flow out of that turbo, which spins a turbine and go down to the exhaust. So if that turbo's jammed up, you'll have exhaust flow issues. So you got to change your exhaust manifold, change your downpipe from that exhaust manifold down to your catalytic converter. Then you need to find a computer for your car that will not be looking for the turbo. On my car, that's a little easier. On your car, maybe the engine size is so significant that you just can't change that computer. You need a different intake, a different exhaust, a different computer, and then just maybe that car will run okay without a turbocharger. There you have it. I hope that explains why you just can't drop a turbo. If you got any questions, go ahead and post them below. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.